Tonight, the focus returns once again to the Black Sea, where, according to the article, 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit during the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. The report immediately places attention on the strategic importance of the Black Sea itself, because this region has remained central to military operations, shipping routes, naval pressure, and broader wartime calculations since the beginning of the conflict. According to the article, the reported strikes involving the 3 Russian vessels mark another moment where maritime operations have become increasingly significant inside the war. And naval warfare often carries a different emotional atmosphere compared to land combat. There is isolation, there is vulnerability, and there is the reality that open water offers very little protection once an attack begins. According to the report, the incident involving the Russian vessels unfolded within that tense environment. Again, the article remains measured in tone. It does not move into speculation. It does not exaggerate outcomes beyond the reported information. Instead, it carefully documents that 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit in the Black Sea during the ongoing conflict. That factual restraint gives the report additional gravity because the number alone immediately draws attention. 3 vessels, not one, not an isolated maritime incident. But according to the article, multiple Russian vessels were reportedly affected during the operation. There are moments in war when silence over the water suddenly disappears all at once. That quiet line almost captures the atmosphere surrounding the report. Because according to the article, the Black Sea once again became the center of visible wartime escalation. The report also reflects how Ukraine's maritime operations have increasingly shaped international attention surrounding the conflict. Naval activity in the Black Sea carries strategic consequences beyond the immediate battlefield. Shipping security matters there. Regional military positioning matters there. And according to the article, attacks involving Russian vessels naturally attract significant global focus. Again and again, the report returns to the number of vessels reportedly hit. 3. That detail changes how the event is perceived, because according to the article, this was not presented as a single isolated strike, but as a broader maritime action affecting multiple Russian targets. The Black Sea has become more than just a geographic location within this conflict. It has become symbolic of strategic pressure, military reach, and operational adaptation. And according to the report, this latest incident reinforces exactly that reality. The article also reflects how modern warfare increasingly extends across multiple operational environments simultaneously: land, air, sea, drone operations, missile systems, naval movement. And according to the article, maritime conflict continues playing a central role in the broader Russia-Ukraine war. Again, the report remains careful not to overstate conclusions. It does not speculate about long-term operational consequences. It focuses directly on the reported incident itself. 3 Russian vessels reportedly hit in the Black Sea. That clarity remains central throughout the article. There's something haunting about conflict unfolding across open water. That emotional undercurrent quietly moves through the report, because naval incidents often create an atmosphere very different from urban warfare or trench fighting. Distance becomes uncertain, visibility becomes limited, and according to the article, the Black Sea again became the setting for visible wartime confrontation. The report also highlights how maritime attacks carry psychological impact alongside operational significance. Naval power often represents control, projection, and presence. And according to the article, strikes involving multiple Russian vessels naturally intensify attention surrounding maritime security within the region. You can almost sense how incidents in the Black Sea immediately resonate internationally. This is not an isolated body of water. It connects directly to regional security discussions, trade concerns, and military positioning across Eastern Europe. And according to the article, this latest development quickly became part of that larger conversation. Again, the article avoids dramatic interpretations interpretation. It does not attempt to forecast escalation. Instead, it documents a specific wartime development involving 3 Russian vessels reportedly hit in the Black Sea. That restraint allows the significance of the incident itself to remain at the center of attention. The report also reflects how Ukraine's operations increasingly demonstrate reach across different military domains. According to the article, naval targets remain vulnerable inside a conflict that continues evolving technologically and strategically, and that evolution appears throughout the report. Maritime warfare often unfolds far from public visibility, but moments like this suddenly bring international attention directly back toward the sea. And according to the article, the reported strikes involving 3 Russian vessels have done exactly that. Tonight, according to the report, 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit in the Black Sea, drawing renewed international focus toward maritime operations and the growing strategic importance of naval conflict within the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. As the report continues, the focus increasingly shifts toward the broader significance surrounding the reported strikes on 3 Russian vessels in the Black Sea and what those incidents reveal about the changing structure of the war. According to the article, 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit during operations in the Black Sea. That single detail immediately shaped international attention surrounding the incident. Because naval warfare carries strategic implications that often extend far beyond the immediate attack itself, the Black Sea has remained one of the most sensitive operational environments in the conflict. Military routes move through it, commercial concerns move through it, regional security concerns move through it. And according to the article, the latest reported strikes once again placed that maritime theater directly at the center of wartime developments. There is something uniquely tense about naval confrontation. On land, positions can be fortified. In cities, structures create barriers and protection. But at sea, exposure feels constant. And according to the report, the Russian vessels reportedly hit in the Black Sea became part of that unforgiving environment. Again, the article remains careful and measured. It avoids speculation. It does not attempt to reinterpret the event beyond the available information. Instead, it documents that 3 Russian vessels were reportedly struck during operations connected to the ongoing war. That disciplined reporting gives the development additional seriousness. Because according to the article, the number of vessels involved immediately elevated international interest. 3 separate Russian vessels. That detail changes perception. It suggests scale. It suggests coordination. And according to the article, the reported incident quickly became one of the most closely watched maritime developments in the conflict. There are nights when the sea suddenly feels very small. That emotional line quietly reflects the atmosphere surrounding the report, because according to the article, the Black Sea again became an active and highly visible wartime zone. The article also reflects how Ukraine's maritime operations continue evolving in sophistication and visibility. Earlier phases of the conflict often focused overwhelmingly on ground operations. But according to the report, naval actions increasingly influence military calculations across the region. Again and again, the article emphasizes the strategic importance of maritime pressure because naval operations affect more than individual vessels. They affect confidence, they affect positioning. And according to the article, strikes involving multiple Russian vessels naturally intensify concerns surrounding maritime vulnerability. You can almost sense how incidents like this reshape operational assumptions inside the region. Security at sea depends heavily on control, detection, and timing. And according to the report, the latest strikes raised fresh questions surrounding those realities. Again, the article avoids dramatic conclusions. It does not speculate about future operations. It does not predict escalation. Instead, it remains centered on the reported fact that 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit in the Black Sea. That consistency strengthens the weight of the reporting itself. The report also highlights how modern warfare increasingly stretches across every possible domain simultaneously. The battlefield is no longer confined to trenches or urban centers alone. Operations now unfold through drones, missile systems, cyber pressure, air defense systems, and maritime attacks. And according to the article, the latest Black Sea incident reflects exactly that multidimensional nature of the war. There's a different kind of silence after conflict unfolds over water. That emotional undercurrent remains present throughout the report. Because naval warfare often creates an atmosphere of uncertainty and isolation, unlike any other operational environment. The article also reflects how attacks involving Russian naval assets naturally carry symbolic implications alongside operational ones. Naval presence represents projection of strength. It represents regional influence. And according to the article, strikes involving multiple Russian vessels inevitably attract significant international scrutiny. Again and again, the report returns to the Black Sea itself, because geography matters deeply in this conflict. The Black Sea connects directly to broader regional security concerns, and according to the article, developments there continue shaping international attention surrounding the war. Maritime incidents often feel distant to global audiences until a moment suddenly cuts through international headlines. And according to the report, the reported strikes involving 3 Russian vessels became exactly that kind of moment. The article additionally highlights how Ukraine's operational reach continues evolving across different military environments. Sea-based conflict now plays a highly visible role within the broader war. And according to the report, the latest incident reinforces that reality once again. Tonight, according to the article, 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit in the Black Sea, increasing international attention on maritime warfare and underscoring how naval operations continue shaping the strategic direction of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. As this report reaches its conclusion, the reported strikes on 3 Russian vessels in the Black Sea appear to reflect something larger than a single maritime incident. According to the article, 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit during operations connected to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. That fact alone immediately intensified international attention, because naval warfare inside the Black Sea carries strategic importance that extends far beyond the vessels themselves. Again, the article remains disciplined in tone. It does not speculate about future retaliation. It does not predict escalation. It focuses directly on the reported incident involving the 3 Russian vessels and the broader wartime environment surrounding the Black Sea. That restraint allows the significance of the event itself to remain central. Maritime conflict often unfolds differently from other forms of warfare. At sea, visibility can disappear quickly, distance becomes uncertain, and isolation creates its own tension. According to the article, the latest reported strikes unfolded inside exactly that environment. The report also reflects how the Black Sea has increasingly become one of the defining operational spaces within the conflict. This is not simply open water. It is a region tied directly to military access, strategic movement, regional security, and wartime pressure. And according to the article, strikes involving multiple Russian vessels immediately elevated attention surrounding naval activity there. There are moments when the horizon suddenly no longer feels calm. That emotional line quietly captures the atmosphere surrounding the report, because according to the article, the Black Sea again became the setting for visible wartime confrontation involving Russian naval assets. Again and again, the report emphasizes the number of vessels reportedly affected: 3. That detail matters, because according to the article, multiple Russian vessels being hit changes how the operation is understood internationally. It signals scale, it signals coordination, and it signals that maritime operations remain deeply active within the broader conflict. The article also reflects how Ukraine's operational approach continues evolving across different military domains. Naval pressure now exists alongside drone warfare, missile systems, air defense operations, and ground combat. And according to the article, the Black Sea remains one of the most strategically sensitive environments where those pressures continue unfolding. You can almost sense how maritime incidents immediately create broader conversations beyond the battlefield itself. Questions emerge about shipping security. Questions emerge about naval vulnerability. Questions emerge about regional military balance. And according to the article, the latest reported strikes involving Russian vessels intensified exactly those discussions. Again, the report avoids dramatic language. It does not move beyond the available information. Instead, it carefully documents the reported strikes and their location inside the Black Sea. That measured approach strengthens the seriousness surrounding the development, because the strategic importance of the region already speaks for itself. There's something deeply uneasy about conflict spreading across the water. That emotional undercurrent remains present throughout the article, because naval warfare often feels both distant and immediate at the same time. The sea appears open and empty. Yet, according to the report, it continues serving as one of the most active operational theaters inside the war. The article also highlights how attacks involving Russian naval assets carry symbolic implications alongside military ones. Naval power represents visibility, projection, and influence. And according to the article, reported strikes involving multiple Russian vessels naturally draw international focus toward questions surrounding maritime security and operational reach. Again, the report remains grounded entirely in the incident itself. 3 Russian vessels reportedly hit in the Black Sea. That core fact anchors the entire article from beginning to end. And according to the report, the event now stands as another reminder that the war continues evolving across multiple operational environments simultaneously. You know, modern warfare no longer moves along a single predictable line. Conflict now stretches across cities, skies, digital systems, infrastructure networks, and open water. And according to the article, the latest Black Sea incident reflects exactly that transformation. The report additionally reinforces how maritime operations increasingly influence the broader rhythm of the conflict itself. Sea-based warfare is no longer secondary within the Russia-Ukraine war. It has become central to strategic calculations and international attention. And according to the article, the latest strikes involving Russian vessels demonstrate that reality clearly. Tonight, according to the report, 3 Russian vessels were reportedly hit in the Black Sea, underscoring the growing importance of naval warfare and highlighting how maritime operations continue reshaping the strategic landscape of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Sometimes the quietest waters become the center of the loudest moments.